I'm going to know.
Oh, yes. Let's see.
Where's the microphone?
Oh, right. Oh, the mini, right? The mini.
You're on the desk.
Thanks, Jim.
Oh, there isn't a microphone.
There isn't no.
That is it? I know in the meeting the other day, I could hardly hear.
Yeah, but the microphone normally, so I don't listen. So where's the girls? They gone?
They're gone. There's nobody yet.
Oh.
No, it looks like.
No, I know what it looks like, but I don't think that's it. I don't know why it was getting on.
Oh, bananas. Can we go through your PC at all?
I've got my microphone on.
That's, yeah.
Was there a different invitation sent
There's
out?
something.
Are the other members on a different link or something?
I think we can just hear Phil's dulcet tone.
We can hear you, Phil. Jess.
Stage.
Okay, so do you want to try?
You can
PC
see
Graham?
me as well if you really want to, but I can imagine you don't.
That's not good enough, is it?
We can hear that you're talking, Phil, but we can't hear what you're saying. It's very faint. Are we only hearing through your laptop?
I think so.
It was just that I was wondering where everybody was.
Yeah.
They're on, yeah.
Sorry, I don't understand you all.
Can other people hear us? Carol, can you hear us?
What Lisa's name?
Lisa, yeah. Oh, Christian's no putting their
Yeah.
hands up now.
Okay, can you speak to us, Carol, so we can hear you? We're getting the volumes.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Very faint. Very
I
faint.
can hear you as well.
I can certainly
Yeah,
hear you
but
loud
we
and
can't
clearly.
hear you at the moment.
I can hear
Anyone
everybody
else?
perfectly.
Can that hear that you're speaking,
me
but we can't
too.
hear what you're actually telling us. Good faint.
Is it possible the sound bar below is not turned on?
Well, I was told that it wasn't the sound bar to use.
Yeah,
No, that's not it. No, no, no. So it's literally like a mic you would hold in your hand, but on a stand.
I wasn't left anything.
No. When generally when one of our administration systems we finish the meeting and she takes it out and winds it up.
Yeah, the problem is that the sound only coming through on my laptop, so it's not enough for the whole room here. Yeah. Yeah.
You select the Sony TV.
That better?
Someone to speak.
Phil, can you hear us now, Phil? Or can we hear you saying something? Any more volume, but it's garbled.
I can hear all of you perfectly.
That's much better, Phil. Thank you. Right, Lisa. Say something for we chat with Carol.
Hello? Yep, I can
That's
hear
great.
absolutely fine.
Okay, that's lovely. All right. Okay, well, I'm gonna try to proceed, Sam. So we before you continue, we took apologies from Maria. We've taken declarations as and when, and I'm changing with your permission, I'm changing the order of the agenda. If we got PC Graham, we'll take him straight away. Yeah, are you there, PC Graham?
Hi, yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, congratulations on being appointed our neighbourhood officer. Hope you have a good time here, and we're looking forward to meeting you occasionally in the flesh or on the streets. Can you, before we go on to look at the safety partnership, Just brief us, which is that area do you cover? Is it just Caldecott or do you cover a wider area than that?
Yeah, so if you look on paper, technically Caldecott is my designated area. Unfortunately, with all of policing now across the UK, with cutbacks, etc., it means we do have to cover a bit of a larger area at times. So in general, my area would be sort of South Monmouthshire. So that's everywhere from Mager and Undy up towards Chepstow and the Tintern area as well. But my focus and sort of I'm the main point of contact for the Caldecott and Portskewer areas, essentially.
Yeah. Oh, okay. But you cover Mager, Undy, Roggett, and Clywent as well.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, which is our area. But Mr. Anybody there? Yeah.
Just, is it possible for you to show yourself, please, so we can recognise you?
Yeah, bear with me 1 second. I'm just getting set up.
On Facebook, it's on Facebook. It's yeah.
Yeah, they caught me on a good day with the Facebook.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. There he is.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, the agenda item is to look at the community safety partnership. The sort of background to that is a little bit of preliminary discussion. There's I think a general desire to do what we can to improve enforcement of speed limits on roads, whether they're 20 or 30 or whatever. But there are a number of difficulties. My ward is Roggett, for example, and the Go Safe people tell me there's no way you can put a speed van safely in Roggett. So we're looking at alternative approaches, and we're really looking what sort of the next step to take this idea of a safety partnership forward.
Yeah, so like you mentioned there's certain criteria for the Go Safe team who do sort of the mobile speed cameras that you see around. Within Roggett, etc., like you mentioned, there's not a lot of areas for them to set up the speed van. We do have the potential, and it is something that's being pushed at the moment, for sort of the handheld speed guns to be used by us. What that does is we'd have to set up an operation, which does take a little bit of time to do, but we can set them up. Just in terms of incorporating the fire service as well. Maybe people have seen them around Caldecott, where it's education to drivers and also sort of dealing with them there and then, rather than them getting something through the post a short while after. Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it up in terms of how we can approach it in an alternative way.
Yeah. Okay, I've got Lisa, then Jill.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome, Daniel. When you say the handheld speed guns, is that Gwent Police coming out, say with a bike, for instance, and actually holding up the speed guns? Or are you looking for residents to volunteer?
Yeah, so that's a good question. That is done by us. So certain officers, either from our traffic department mainly, or myself, or maybe other officers, it's just a handheld version of what they've got. It just tracks speed in a certain area, and then we pull over those drivers and deal with them that way.
That's brilliant. That's definitely something I would like to put my ward forward for. We get a lot of people coming flying up Caldecott Road, and again, same as Councillor Strong, Go Safe say there's nowhere that they can put a van, so I will definitely be in contact. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you, Jill.
And so a number of us have volunteered before. I know I've spoken to Councillor Murphy or Phil Murphy about us all being trained up. There's a number of us who want to be trained up and perhaps do this, participate in other people's wards rather than our own wards, hopefully, so we don't get shot by our people. Sorry, I didn't mean to say shot. All these things are looking very happy. So we've been waiting for training. Is it possible for you to give us training, or someone to give us training so we can do that? I don't know whether, Phil, you're still interested?
Sorry, just to confirm, is that training to use the speed guns?
Yes, and be out and
yeah, so
we're going to train us, but I've not heard anything since, and it's been quite a while.
So from my understanding of it, the speed guns are only to inform us of those cars or those vehicles who are speeding. It's not something that sort of people can use there and or sort of as and when they want to. It is when we do these operations, there would be a team of us just to lay it out. You'd have 1 or 2 people in different areas who are clocking people's speeds, anyone who are doing excessive speeds and need to be pulled over and dealt with accordingly. We would just use those speed cameras as a guide, and then other officers would then pull them over. Under the Road Traffic Act, it would only be those officers to do that. So I appreciate, obviously, you know, the willingness to do so. I'm not too familiar if there is something for civilians to get involved in those specifically, but I can double check and get back to you if needed.
Right, if you will, Dan,
I think Phil might
excuse me.
be
All right, Phil. Okay, Phil.
Yeah, one of those exercises was carried out in Gwent, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks ago, and seems to have been quite successful. We were talking about trying to get something going between us. We looked for volunteers in Gwent. Initially, there was some interest in it, but people started dropping out. So, as regards getting a team up, if you like, in Gwent, that seems to have gone away. But I was pleased to see the exercise being carried out. People were being educated, shall we say, in the coach and horses, and that seemed to go down well. So, you know, it was good to see.
Okay, thanks, Phil. Yeah, I think, Dan, everybody would welcome actual police officers carrying out the occasional check. But there is, as we understand it, a separate sort of community scheme where volunteers can form an officially recognised group. They obviously cannot issue speeding tickets or prosecute or anything, but they can pass details on to the police, and I think the police just send a letter saying that this has been spotted. We've seen them, for example, in Tintern in the past, when I've noticed. So if you can investigate how we can carry this forward, it's not just training a few people in this room, but as Phil mentioned, recruiting volunteers from around the communities who would be interested in doing this sort of thing. So if it's possible to get back to us with some ideas as how best to take that forward, whether it's through the police or whether it's through GoSafe or whatever.
Yeah, leave it with me, and I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay, thanks. Okay, can we let PC Graham go now? Yeah, we're happy. All right, well, thanks a lot for your time, and best of luck as our neighbourhood officer.
Great. Yeah,
Sorry,
thank you so much.
Chair, one
Sorry.
question. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Obviously, I raised a point about there being some antisocial behaviour taking place on the new active travel route. Can we just make Daniel aware of that? Because it may be an area they need to start included in their patrols, because I've had some complaints from residents.
Yeah, happy to take that now. You've got a question on the agenda later, but we'll take that now if you want to say a bit more about the nature of that antisocial behaviour. Yeah. Lisa, still with you.
Yeah, so there's people using scooters to get into Portskewett and back to Caldicot. There's been some abusive shouting going on. It hasn't been a lot, but I'm getting complaints about it at this moment in time. So I just wanted it to be on your radar going forward.
Yeah. Can I just ask, sorry, Lisa, is there specific areas? I know you mentioned the new sort of the cycle lane by the castles. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's probably once you come into Portskewett, so behind Arthur's Court and I forget what the close is right next to where I live, the close. As you come down, so they're coming from Caldicot and they're coming up the ramp to get into Portskewett.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Jill?
And the only other area that I know which Councillor Jackie Strong might want to say something about is Castroggy Park. Sorry, that's in Castle Ward, isn't it? Rachel Garrick's ward, but also there's some sociable behaviour in Margaret's Way, I don't know, it's been reported to you, there's been a number of meetings up at Bethany and also wandering Operation Lumley. Does that include them walking up around that area?
Yeah, so
But I think Tony, then you can do both groups together if that's okay, yeah.
yeah, not a problem. So I'll talk about Castroggy first because that's something that I've in the last month. So I started in my role on the 1st of August. So that's something that I've tried to focus on since I joined. So in terms of Castroggy Park, yes, we are aware that there's antisocial behaviour. However, in terms of complaints that have been made to yourselves and other councillors too, it seems to be that that's where it's sort of ending in terms of the reporting. We've had a look, and my inspector and sergeant have also looked. There were, from February 2024 until August 24, there was only 6 reported incidents of antisocial behaviour logged from our control room. That's not to say that there isn't more happening. However, that's reports made by the public to us. We are aware of the issues, and since it's been raised and there's been a bit more of a targeted approach to it, we've been carrying out some local patrols, both myself, other officers, and the community support officers, who I'm sure some of you do know as well. Last week as well, on the 6th of September, we did a plainclothes operation in and around Caldicot, including Castroggy Park. During that, we seized an electric bike from an individual and carried out 5 stop searches. From those stop searches, there were 4 positive results, meaning it was a positive outcome for the police and the community where items were seized, whether that's drugs or other prohibited items as well. Again, same on Margaret's Way, which sort of falls into that category as well that I've just covered.
Okay. I don't really want to pursue Castroggy Park too much because it's a specific Caldicot issue, and
Right.
maybe the town council would be the appropriate body to talk about that in more detail. Are you happy for me to carry on? Yeah.
I just want to-
You've got quickly, maybe.
Dan, can I just flag up something on the Greenway? And
Yeah, sure.
I've had updates from the inspector and Steve in the past week about Castroggy and Margaret's Way, so I'm happy with all of that. And I met Coentia on Saturday. One of the women that actually litter picks around Caldicot has seen on the Greenway that there are badger sets that are being sort of blocked in with stones. So it might be worth just if you're going up that way to have a look at that. We actually took some of the stones away from the openings of the badger sets, and the lady unfortunately was doing it a couple of days prior to when I met her, and she fell down and broke her wrist. So it's just to be mindful that, I don't know why they would be doing that, but just be mindful because it is a crime, isn't it? So thank you.
Not a problem. I'll keep an eye on that and look into that when I can. Yeah.
Tony?
Yeah, just one brief one. Dewsall Ward, Herbert Road, top end particularly, you've been having issues there recently. It hasn't gone away. I don't think it'll go away for a while, but you are aware of it. I hope you keep on monitoring it.
Yeah, no problem. Did you say, sorry, Herbert Road?
Herbert Road, yeah, top end. There's
Yeah,
been a lot of
we I went to an incident last week there and picked up some good information, which is going to help guide us in terms of what we do there, and we do have plans regarding certain individuals that keep popping up from that area, or maybe they don't live there, but they are certainly attending that area. So we are aware of it, and we are monitoring and looking to put action in regarding that as well.
Okay.
Just quickly then, please, can you just mention Darth Island Drive? Were you aware of Darth Island Drive and the difficulties down there? And if not, can I contact you and we talk about it?
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't have my email, I can send that over to you. No worries.
Yeah.
Phil?
Yes, hello Daniel, Phil Elwood from Roggett Community Council. Just to alert you to a couple of hotspots concerning antisocial behaviour with off-road bikes. Behind Chestnut Drive, between the path that runs behind Chestnut Drive and so-called Chestnut Grove, an old orchard. There's a path there that comes out on the B4245 right opposite the garage. That path there, that's a favourite spot for them zooming down. Yesterday, I witnessed one going down there, chap with a helmet on, but he had a small child on the back, no more than 10 years old, without a helmet, and he was zooming down the paths and then disappearing up the lane on cherry cloves to go into the fields, and from there I don't know. I also had a couple of residents complaining about bikes whizzing on the field paths between Caldicot Rugby Club and Roggett in that area. So if you'd like, south of Chestnut Drive Estate. And just yesterday, I saw one on the road by Llanfihangel Esmond, whacking along there at 40 miles an hour or so with no helmet on. Just, I'm afraid it's still rife, that problem.
Yeah, I share a lot of your concerns regarding that, and also frustrations as well. Off-road bikes is one of the toughest things for us to deal with because of a lot of the risk involved in trying to tackle the issue. Risk to both ourselves and the riders of these bikes, which is something that the police is obviously worried about. We're aware of that area being used, and I'm aware as well of the reports by the rugby club as well. We are running, along with our roads policing and traffic department, Operation Harley, which I'm not sure if you're aware of or not, but that targets off-road bikes specifically. So I will include that area, sort of the Chestnut Drive, Cherry Close area, down and those fields in the next time we meet up with them, and just look to see if there's anything that they can advise and potentially look to put in place to target it as well.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thanks, Dan.
No problem.
Just the check. Presumably it's okay for people to email you direct to your own police email address. Would that be correct?
If it's sort of specific issues that have been raised on meetings or anything like that, yes, absolutely. You know, and I'm aware of those issues, that's fine. If it is, you know, concerns that you've previously gone to inspector or sergeant about, just for the time being, if it's okay to carry out with that procedure, only until I get my feet under the ground a little bit more, and then I can potentially look to take on those as well. It's not a problem.
Okay, lovely. Right. Well, thanks very much. Thanks for your time.
No worries. Thank you so much.
All the best. Yeah. We'll move on then to what is listed as item 3 on the agenda, which is an update of placemaking plans. There's 4, and Craig and Dan on this one. Yep.
So on, this is on active travel, is it?
This is placemaking.
Placemaking,
Yeah,
right.
travels in a minute.
I've got them the wrong way around.
Order.
Yeah, so on placemaking plans, several of you will have been to recent meetings, but not all of you, about placemaking plans. And just to summarise, a placemaking plan is a concept introduced by Welsh Government allowing towns to develop a vision of themselves, to order priorities in support of that vision, and to attract government funding in support of such projects. Throughout Monmouthshire, we've developed an approach to developing these plans, which involves the county council, the town council, and other parts of the community. We got one completed formal placemaking plan, that's in Chepstow, and that reminds us that it's never a finished process. So even when you got the plan in Chepstow, we've got a delivery group, and that continues to be initiating projects, monitoring what's going on. In this area, the Severnside area, Mega and Andy now have a placemaking steering group. Its second meeting is tomorrow. The group is being supported by a consultancy procured along with Abergavenny and Monmouth, who are in the same stage as Mega and Andy. Caldicot is distinctive. in that it has had for some years a regeneration plan, which precedes the Welsh Government's concept of a placemaking plan, but serves several of the same purposes. And in some ways, we've been using it as if it were a placemaking plan. But it is suggested that there's advantage in building upon that regeneration plan and develop a fresh placemaking plan. Last week, there was a joint meeting with the County Council and the Town Council, and the Town Council will now consider whether it is to be a partner in this, and if it chooses to be a partner, sharing some part of the funding and working with the County Council on a specification for consultancy support. So there are 2 towns in the area who may well be on the path towards a placemaking plan, and we may result in having 2 plans. But I suggest that the role of this forum is to ensure that those exercises don't happen in isolation. Both Mega and I think in particular Caldicot will need a plan that makes sense to the whole region. The town, Caldicot in particular, has amenities, be they the leisure centre or the school or the retail opportunity, which prosper if they have the support of the surrounding communities, be it Portskewett, Went, Crick, Roggett. And therefore it seems to me that there's a role for this forum in getting reports back from the 2 exercises, looking for overlaps, checking for any contradictions, and just suggesting where the plans may better fit the needs of surrounding communities. So that's where we're at. As an example of how it can benefit an area, that your current regeneration plan in Caldicot has allowed, for instance, the investment currently taking place in Holman House. You can see that. It's always the case throughout the county that whenever we get new investment, everyone wants, people then note the disruption associated with that investment. But Dan, I don't know if you want to just add by dating us on where that Holman House investment's going.
So the Holman House project isn't underway yet.
It's not, is it? It's the other one.
But Severnside Street Newport Road is, but that's not funded through placemaking grant. Yeah, so you'll be aware that placemaking grant and other transforming towns funding that we've been able to access because of the existing Caldicot regeneration strategy has supported a number of projects over the last few years. So investment in primarily in buildings in the town centres, but also contributions to some of the other schemes. So the grants that were given to the 2 Chinese restaurants a few years ago, the work that's been done recently to the zone, for example. We're also, this is the one that Paul's talking about, working with MHA on, so they have a proposal for external refurbishment of Holman House, which we're hoping to support again through placemaking grant. Of course, we've also, as we've discussed in this forum before, I think, working with the operator of the new post office to provide grant for the refurbishment of that unit within Holman House to bring that back into for the as the post office. Having a placemaking plan or something that serves as the equivalent of a placemaking plan for a town centre is a requirement for Welsh Government to for access to that Welsh Government regeneration funding. And just to pick up on a broad point that Paul was making, so the placemaking plans are focused on town centres, and that's why that we're developing that plan for Mega Withundy, because Mega Withundy has that town status now, and Caldicot should also be eligible for that placemaking plan, and therefore the funding that potentially brings in. So the focus is on the town centre, for instance. So we need to think about that in the context of the communities that use that town centre, and for Caldicot in particular, that's not just the town centre, and it's not just Caldicot, is it? It's much more widely in Severnside. So understanding the needs of those communities, those who, some of you heard me say this in our meeting last Friday, not just people who are currently using the town centre, but the people who might be the people who are missing, understanding their needs and expectations of that town centre so that we can deliver on that.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Before I bring in Lisa, just which clearly, this is a good forum for discussing these things, but perhaps the two steering groups, assuming one will be set up in Caldicot, will want to discuss whether that is enough, or whether they would want some more formal way of liaising with each other. And indeed, the villages might want to consider whether that's enough for their needs, or whether they would perhaps want to ask for representation on those steering groups, if that's acceptable. Yeah, so that's something maybe for the different community councils to consider. Yeah. I don't want to get bogged down in any details of the two plans. Sounds like there are no details at the moment anyway. But we're just looking higher level than that. Lisa.
Hi, thank you. Firstly, I know you say it's got to be led by Caldicot. However, the proposed plan, the preferred strategy for the RLDP is going to impact Portskewer, which is the ward of which it is being built in or being proposed for. I think it needs to be a joint working effort between Caldicot Town Council and Portskewer. I kept hearing surrounding areas and support from those smaller community councils, but that is going to fall within Portskewer and the hamlet of Crick. So I think Portskewer should be equally leading that way. With regards to this funding available, so that has to be spent on the nearest well-established town. That money has to be spent there. Can I have clarification of that, please?
Yeah. So do we have confusion here between the RDLP and the placemaking?
No, but obviously the RLDP proposals impact the place plan.
Okay, well, I'll pass it to Paul. Well done.
But I'll have a first go, Lisa. These things are easily, they are interlinked, but we need to maintain some separation. So the placemaking plan is a plan specific, in this case, to Caldicot Town Centre. That's what Welsh Government expects. We can debate narrowly the boundaries of what the town centre is, but that's what it's about. The local development plan is obviously a county-wide planning exercise, and it involves strategic sites such as the one that Lisa refers to, which is in the Portskewer ward. That's got its own process, that will have its own consultation process, but it is very separate from the idea of a placemaking plan for a town centre, in this case, Caldicot Town Centre.
Can I ask a question, please, Chair? To Paul.
Yeah.
When I did some training with One Voice Wales a couple of years ago on place plan training, I think was the term. I'm sure it was touted as something relevant to towns and communities. Is it a different thing? Place plan, placemaking plan?
Great show.
Oh, very much.
We'll try and explain the difference. Many times.
Sorry, we've got people on the online. It's Craig O'Connor, head of placemaking. It's very confusing because they're all called very similar names. So the replacement local development plan is that key county-wide strategic plan which allocates land for development and also creates the planning policy framework for Monmouthshire to make planning decisions. The placemaking plan, as Paul and Dan have explained, is all about the regeneration of town centres, making a place and ensuring communities engage in that. So Caldicot Town Centre is appropriate for that. And a place plan, which is something similar wording, but sits underneath the replacement local development plan and can be used for communities, and be that towns, villages, as supplementary planning guidance when planning
taken into account by your guys.
Yes.
With individual applications.
So I've had conversations and attended.
That's the bit I remember.
I've had meetings and attended Portskewer Community Council who are considering a place plan, and we've had conversations on the timing of that in terms of when the replacement local development plan is in place, and if council agree to take it forward, then the place plan can sit underneath that and can help inform and decide with planning applications. So it's It's unfortunate they are very similar in their wording.
It's okay.
But they are different things ultimately.
Okay, so thanks. Phil Murphy, that's two Phils, so Phil Murphy.
Only a quick one, Chair, just picking up on what Lisa said, and I appreciate it's a wider point, but anything that goes on in Portskewer that heads towards Crick, I'd like to make sure that I'm involved in it, please.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, okay. Right, Lisa, did you want to come back? You still got a hand up. I don't know if that's.
Just to make sure that Portskewer Community Council are included, because I appreciate, and you may feel the same about Roggett. Mager and Undy now have that, and now is now identified as a town. We're very much part of Severnside area, and Caldicot is there to service my residents, and I just feel very strongly that my community council should be equally leading on this, not just town council led, because obviously my population here is growing very, very fast. So I think that would only be fair.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's a clear message.
Yeah.
And we've already got representatives here. I hope we'll take that back when that steering group is if and when that steering group is set up. Jill?
I only want to say that insofar as the boundaries are concerned, not even West End is considered part of the centre, is it? It's part of this town centre.
So in terms of the town centre boundaries.
Yes.
Well,
But
as Paul said, so that we can, as part of the process, assuming we get to that point, we'll have a discussion about what the town centre boundary is.
Right.
But no, I think that's probably right. West End would probably not be considered part of the town centre. That's a separate question though, from whether or not I was
just indicating so they realise that not all of Caldicot, not all areas of Caldicot are included, only the very centre.
But as I say, clearly the people who use that town centre is much broader.
Oh yes,
Not impacted. It's a wider area. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And just as we would expect the interests of people who live in West End to be represented.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we expect the interests of people in Portskewer and Cowent and Roggett to be represented. Yeah. Okay, John.
Chair,
sorry.
a lady councillor from Mager is trying to get in.
Oh, I do apologise.
No,
we got
just Victoria Hamlet.
Victoria
from Mager and Undy.
Where's the? This.
She just sent me a message.
Oh, she's trying to get into the meeting. Is she?
Yeah.
She's done.
In the waiting room.
Oh, she's in the waiting room. Okay.
Wendy would see that, wouldn't you, Wendy?
There's waiting room for this meeting.
No.
I'll take John while
thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Griffiths best explained the placemaking boundaries the other day when he explained that Bulwark wasn't part of the Chepstow placement plan. So the boundaries are difficult to get through the Welsh Assembly, as I understand it.
No.
But I think it's reasonably clear that the target area for improvement and money coming in is a town centre, but the stakeholder involvement is wider.
Absolutely.
And that's recognised.
I'm sorry.
To be drawing up the terms of reference.
The representative will be shouting loudly if it doesn't happen, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's the one.
All right.
Sorry,
Are we
could I
okay on
have
placemaking?
could I have an email
any
address
hands
for that?
Anywhere else?
I'm getting it for you now, Wendy.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, right. So moving on then to item 4, which is the update on active travel multi-user project. Again, this is an update rather than a detailed discussion of the individual projects or other forums where that is more appropriate. Paul?
We had the debate last time. We won't go over it again.
No.
But it's important that you know that something happens as a result of your discussions. So as a result of last meeting's discussions, I can report that the Greenway is a completed project, other than some snagging needing to take place. Lisa's noted that not all the use is positive, but I hope that there is some positive use as well of that project. The route from the Greenway to the castle, I was able to report what that route would be last time. The design consultancy for that route, how it will actually be designed, has now been procured, and the contract for that design will commence at the beginning of October. We also understood at last time's meeting that there would be a separate consultancy to do an option appraisal of various ideas and routes from the Castlegate roundabout to in front of the castle to Church Road. The specification for that option appraisal has been drawn up and will go out to tender tomorrow, and we anticipate that work beginning at the end of October. And finally, we discussed last time the design which had been undertaken for Woodstock Way. That would be consulted on. That consultation process is currently taking place. There was a face-to-face consultation earlier this week at the hub. The consultation continues till the 25th of September. Members of the public can continue to go to the hub and pick up a paper-based consultation at the hub, and they can also have been able to undertake an online consultation as well. So that will be completed on the 25th of September, and following that there will be a collation and an analysis, and that information then will be shared back to members of this group. There are a lot of projects and a lot of action.
Okay, thank you. If I just quickly add before I bring in, I have to see what it is, but I bring in somebody. A note from Nick Talbot also said that coming out some snagging work on the Greenway for September, October, tree planting, landscaping, lighting and signage, plus snagging, including certainly cracking on Cardcott Road South Ramp to be remedied. But overall the feedback has been big positive. Certainly a lot of people using it. It's a bit more of a leisure route than a strictly defined active travel route, which I'm not going to complain about. Phil?
Chair, first feedback on that subject of the Greenway. I've been delighted to use it a couple of times, once on bikes and once escorting grandchildren on little scooters, and both times brilliant. It's really, really good. And we look forward to the next sections being opened in due course. The second thing is, do you have an update on the undetected activity, please?
Well, you might answer
that. Which one's it?
I'll try that. No,
please.
I don't know if Nick, I mean, my understanding is that the intention of this would be funded through an alternative route, so-called Burns delivery plan, and we're looking for confirmation of that, and I don't think that the timelines for it. But have you got any more information on the undetected funding and timescales?
So the afternoon everybody, Nick Torp, Active Travel Officer. The undetected project is currently ongoing. It is Burns funded currently. We're at a process at the minute of identifying the land take required and then engaging with the landowners to see essentially the permissions requested to be able to build the route. So the consultants are currently drawing up how much land is required on the south side of the B4245. I believe there's 18 individual landowners that need to be engaged. So we're just working with a third party, because our MCC Estates team are currently at capacity. So we're just currently getting a price to move that through sort of the negotiations to get the land. Following that, we'll then be sort of pursuing sort of finalised detailed design and then be able to push forward to construction funding when we've got land permissions in place.
Any ideas of timescales or target timescales for at least the?
You should know better. Any idea of timescales? What would be an optimistic timescale on that, Nick?
Optimistic is we'd be bidding for construction funding for next year, and that's very optimistic with the number of landowners involved.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's Lisa, isn't it? And then Joe.
Hi, thanks, Chair. Active travel route, I'm personally loving it. My dogs would like to say thank you. We're having wonderful walks and it's beautiful to see it changing colour right now. I'm surprised Max isn't talking because he usually likes to talk when Paul Griffiths is talking, as we know. I have got a request. I have got a request though. Dog fouling bins. There used to be one on the Caldecott Road Bridge. There was a litter bin which was subsequently thrown over and was never replaced. I'm seeing lots of dog fouling left. I picked up a few this morning. If the council can look at getting a dog bin, especially on Caldecott Road or down on the Dinham Railway line. I wanted to know how they're going to repair that quite substantial crack on the Caldecott Road ramp, because obviously that's only been laid a few months ago, if that, and it's the entire length pretty much. And just to make the council aware that there has been fly tipping, but I'd like to thank officers because that's been addressed instantly and collected. That's it from me. Oh, and the next phase, I did catch a bit of what Paul was saying, but if I could receive a written briefing on what that will be, because obviously I was unable to attend that meeting in person. That wasn't able to be held remotely, a hybrid meeting. So if I could have that just in writing from my records, that I'd be very grateful. Thank you. But amazing work. Well done, Colette. Well done, Phil. My residents absolutely love it. It's brilliant.
Lovely. We got the thumbs up from Paul on that one. I don't think there are any other questions in that then. Just observations, yeah? Yeah. Okay, right, I'll take Jill.
Well, first of all, I think the dog fouling might be, it depends on what ward it's in, whether it's in Caldecott or not. Whether it's with,
it's in mine. It's in my ward.
It wouldn't come to our council then, because the bins are from town council rather than county council.
No, but there was it was a litter bin. There was a litter bin on the bridge that was thrown over. So if we could have that litter bin reinstated, people might pick up their dog mess. Port Stewart Council are very good at putting little dog bag dispensers. So we could arrange for one of those to go up, maybe on that ramp. It will just help keep the walk route nice and clean and tidy.
Brilliant. Okay, the other thing I was, so thank you for that. So if the design consultancy is starting in October, when's the involvement of the town and county councillors or the stakeholders going to start, please?
So the design consultancy will be complete, and before we would move to implementation, that design would then be subject to public consultation.
All right, so we're not going to be part of
the design. I suggest is a technical piece of work to see how you can construct a path.
Which part are we talking about?
We're talking about getting from the Greenway down to
the castle.
Yeah. So that's an engineering piece of work, and engineers will do the design. I suggest, without consultation, that once that's completed, before we can move on to implementation, the concept of the routes will be subject to
So the other one is the options. That makes a lot of sense. The other one is the options. So I guess we'll be consulted. Will be part of the discussion very early.
But I've found so far, it's no point having a discussion on the options until we know if they're feasible, until we know what the costs are, and that's what we'll get out of the study.
Yeah. So there were 2 points. One point is the radio here, but now we brought this one. I'll talk with this one. You're also talking about consultants looking at the roundabout, what we call the Mytel roundabout in that area across as well, aren't you? Yeah. So the other question, the other point was coming to was this Burns report and the spending of money. We're talking about Rocket, fine, I think that's great, long time overdue, but doesn't be mentioned today about the M4 link, M48 link within the Burns. Are we dealing with that?
Yeah, that's on the agenda. That's on the agenda later.
Okay, I didn't say about it. See what I think from it.
Right.
I've been there, but it's on there.
You have to choose. I'm having trouble seeing whose hand. Is it Colette on the hand up?
Yeah, thanks. I was just, sorry, Colette Bosley, Green Infrastructure Manager. I was just going to respond to Lisa's point, actually, just on, you were asking Lisa about having a bit of an update on the crack on the ramp section. Just to let you know that we are in contact with the contractor, and they are looking at that at the moment. So we will have some action taken on that, just to reassure you. I know that you'd contacted us about that. So yeah, definitely.
What I don't want to see is patchworking.
No, we said that. They've agreed that.
Yeah. Okay.
That's absolutely not going to happen. Definitely, we've said we definitely don't want to see that. So yeah, be reassured.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Right, quick question, John. Can I just have clarification? Did I hear or not correct that you were suggesting that the placemaking in Mega would be somewhat connected to Caldicott? Did I read that right or not?
No, what I'm suggesting is that there's two separate towns, they're two separate projects, but to differing extents, they both have impacts across the area. And so you may consider that this is the forum where you can get reports from those two exercises and consider what their impact is across the wider area.
It's a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, to take a silly example, if a mega placemaking plan included the building of a very large leisure centre in Mega, probably Caldicott would want to know about that. Yeah. Okay, right. Anybody else? We've gone back to placemaking, but we're on active travel at the moment, Jackie.
Can I just say that I'm really pleased that, that consultants are going to look at the path through Castle, but I wonder whether, that's going to take a long time, isn't it? And I'm very aware that, people with mobility problems, people in wheelchairs or double buggies cannot access out of the Greenway onto the main road. Is there any way that we can put a temporary solution to that to get people from the Greenway onto the main road?
Yeah, want to get a hand somewhere? Okay. Yeah.
Thanks for that. Yeah, we are aware of the issues, obviously, around that connection, and we have had a number of, one request to look at that in particular, but the position that we're in at the moment is that we're not able to provide temporary a solution along that section, because they're so complex. The issues to be able to do that, they're almost as complex, to be honest, as putting the final path down itself. As you know, it takes a lot of engagement, consultation, and issues to try to do anything along that section. So the best that we can do at the moment really is to just simply make it very clear for all users that they're welcome to use it. But we're not promoting it as accessible to all at the moment on that section. So it's, the route is accessible and it's usable, but we're not taking the approach that we're making it available or accessible for all at this point. And we'll put up signage and we'll make sure that the website reflects that, just so that everybody is clear and aware of the position on that.
Okay. I'm a bit sorry. I'm just a bit confused, Colette, because how can it be accessible but not accessible? We've got a huge, multi-million pound sort of care home opposite that Greenway, and yet we're saying to families that they can't actually come out. They can go to the Greenway and then they've got to go all the way back. So I am really, really disappointed. And can I actually
can I suggest that Colette, that you and I meet with interested people on site.
Happy to do that, and we've offered that.
There's an interim arrangement.
Yeah, I think just to reiterate though, for us to be able to do anything as an interim measure, we have to have planning, we have to have ecological issues addressed, there's issues around use for the events for the castle, there's SAB issues, there's flooding issues, and this is why we've struggled to be able to do as a temporary solution that small connection. We totally understand that it's not accessible to all immediately, but it is still accessible to different users. Obviously, for it is accessible. It is available for people to use for walking, wheeling, and cycling, as it is. but it's not fully accessible, and we do acknowledge that, and we're going to make sure that we're not promoting it currently until we've been through the next stage of getting all, as you know, Paul, you've explained there, we've got to get through the planning, we've got to get through the design, which has obviously been delayed as a result of everybody wanting to agree that specific route, and make sure that we've got through all the necessary consents to take that forward. So it's important that we get those resolved, and we don't try to sort of, you know, to put something as a temporary measure down, which would be inappropriate in terms of access, and probably end up flooded anyway and not available to people. So, you know, we want to provide the best we can, but we are acknowledging at the moment that this is only the first stage. It's not a complete route, and I think that's the thing to remember. This is just the first part that we've opened of the whole route. So it's very much a phased process that we're taking here. And as you know, we haven't got the funding to be able to just continue to do it as a whole anyway. So you know, there are phases.
Yeah, okay, let's meet on site, and that would enhance understanding on both sides, I think, and correct before we'll facilitate that. Okay, yeah, thank you for that. Right, any more on the active travel updates? No? Okay, right, well, thank you for the officers who come along and helped us with that this evening. We'll move on then, I don't think we've got any other hands available. Now, move on then to item 5. Food Tales. Have we got Marianne with us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, I've just arrived.
Oh, hi, Marianne. Yeah, I'm a long way from the screen. Like, I quite see. Well, this is for those who don't know, this sounds very intriguing. I know what this is about, but I'll leave it to you, Marianne. But particularly, there are several local schools involved in different communities, so we'd like to hear about who's involved and what it's all about. Okay, so thank you for coming along. Down to you.
Thank you very much for having me. Good evening, everybody. Yes, so for those who don't know, I am Marianne Elliott, Sustainable Food Projects Manager in Monmouthshire County Council, and I work with Elaine Blanchard and Sian Kidd, who will be helping me on this project. In fact, they will be leading it, because all being well, I will be off on maternity leave when it actually gets going. But we came up with this idea through a programme of work that's been going on over a number of years in the council, working with schools, communities, growers, and increasingly closely with our catering team in MCC. And really around this strategic organisational objective that we have to increase uptake of universal free school meals as part of our commitment to tackling inequality. We recognise that in the food space, uptake of free school meals is one of the areas where we have a real lever to pull. We can encourage children to have a nutritious hot meal in the middle of the day, ease household budgets, because that's 5 meals that families aren't having to pay for themselves. And we know that a good meal at lunchtime improves children's concentration in the afternoon and educational learning outcomes. So that's the strategic side. It also makes sense for us from a commercial and operational side, because the more people that we have signed up to school meals, the greater our per student subsidy from Welsh Government, as I understand it, which of course helps us to spread our overheads as well, and our fixed costs of running the service. But we've identified that we have some schools with lower uptake than we would expect, particularly given the kind of socioeconomic profile of the area. So we decided we would target those schools. Obviously, we can't work with every school in the county, so that seemed as good a selection criterion as any. And work with pupils and their families on a targeted and sustained basis to try to encourage uptake and understand some of the reasons why uptake is lower, why particular dishes might be less popular than others, and then it also gives us a really robust way of tracking whether our work's had any impact, because we can look at uptake of particular meals on particular days before and after our work. So the schools that we're going to be working with are Roggett, Dewstow, Durand and Undy. Undy has a double year group, so that means they get everything twice. And we've elected to work with year 3 pupils on the grounds that they are just about big enough to be able to participate in cooking activities, for us to talk about some of their food choices, sustainability, health around food. But then importantly, they will be in the school for another few years to help with some of that shifting of school culture, and who knows, when they're year 6s, they might be able to support that times year 3s with some similar stuff. We've worked with catering colleagues to choose a dish off the upcoming menu that we will make as our focus for the first set of workshops, and that's looking like being chili con carne. So then the plan is that that dish will be our theme, and each school will have, first of all, a morning session facilitated by our staff members, by Elaine and Sean, where they will talk about the recipe, talk about the menu. What do the children think of it at the moment? Do they know what's in it? We will have the raw ingredients, so the chili, the beans, the peppers, the carrots, the onions. There they can interact with these ingredients without anybody saying you've got to put it in your mouth. Kind of sensory exploration, familiarization session. Then the following day, they will have a whole day session with a bilingual storyteller. We've commissioned a lady called Tamar Ellened Williams, who has done a lot of work in schools and local authority settings across Wales. She's a really inspirational storyteller, creative. So she will take the children through a bespoke session that she is developing for us. Again, working with these ingredients, what stories are associated with them, where do they fit culturally, where do they come from around the world. And that co-creation session, again, is another way of interacting with and experiencing foodstuffs in a non-pressured environment. And then the final piece of the jigsaw is the following afternoon. We intend then to take the children through a group cookery session where they will actually use the ingredients, use the recipe that the school cooks use, to make the dish themselves. So they will cook and create using the ingredients they've been working with over the past day and a half, a replica of their school lunch, in effect. And if everything goes to plan, if we manage to pull it all together, that cooking activity will finish at about the time that the children are being picked up by their parents, carers. And we're working with our community-focused schools team, because we hope that then the parents and carers will be able to come into the hall or whichever venue we've been cooking in, collect their children, and also have a taste of what the children have prepared, just in a little tasting cup like you would get at a food fair or festival. And again, that then provides an opportunity for us and the team to talk with the parents and carers, and maybe encourage them to actually order the meal for their children, because there's no point in our doing all the work with the children if the parents don't actually also believe that then if they order the meal for their offspring that the children will eat it. That's a very broad overview, and we will then repeat exactly the same format in each of the schools in late January, early February, using another dish off that menu, which is to be decided. The menu's still in development, and it may be that we don't select that final dish until we're a little bit further down the line, maybe until the menu's actually been trialed in schools, because we've found that in the past a new menu comes in, there's generally a dish or some ingredients that raise eyebrows or that children aren't so familiar with, and so we might then be led by how the children react to the menu in choosing which dish to work with for that second set of intensive sessions. And the final piece of the jigsaw is we're doing a much shorter 1-day session with a different storyteller and creative themed around apples for Apple Day in October, which will be, we hope the plan is linking in with the community orchards, looking at apple varieties that are available in community orchards, and a bit of a taste and exploration of different apple varieties of the local heritage of this is Apple County after all, and an apple crumble cooking activity in the afternoon, which will be again that morning exploratory session, bilingual, creative, bringing in elements of music, art, storytelling as well. So that's the general outline. There's still quite a lot of moving parts all coming together, but the schools have been engaged right from the beginning. When this was an early idea, we spoke to the heads of all the schools and they were very enthusiastic. They've booked their dates for their workshop sessions in October, so we are slightly nervous about whether it'll all come off, but also really looking forward to it because it feels as if it could make a real impact, and the cross department collaboration has been particularly pleasing as we've been putting it together.
Right, well, thanks, Marianne, and that's really interesting. I'm a great fan of chili con carne. Our son would only eat it if it doesn't include what he calls gross bits. But then he's 43, so probably be on saving on that one. But I'll take questions. John, then Jill. I can't see anybody on my
Jill was first.
Right, who's first? Whatever.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Marianne. That was brilliant, and what a brilliant idea. Fantastic. I wonder, as far as the sustainability is concerned, I guess they're very young, but are you bringing in anything about food miles, about seasonal vegetables, about local alternatives for
yes,
sources for these foods? So you didn't mention that at all, but I'm sure it's in there.
Yes, I mean the idea for doing this and the confidence for doing it really sprang from the Welsh Veg in Schools project that's been running for a couple of years, which is all about getting more Welsh veg grown and into the supply chain and into schools. So it was workshops connected with that project where sustainability and food miles and local sourcing was the actual theme that gave us the confidence to think, yeah, we can do this, and we can tie in very closely with the school menu. Obviously we're being led by catering and the dishes that are on the menu, so part of our conversations will be things like, you know, where do sweet peppers come from? Can we grow them in this country? If we can grow them in this country, which seasons of the year can we grow them in? So that will very much be part of it, but we're not quite at the position yet where all the veg that we're using is local and seasonal all the time. That's an aspiration that we're all working towards, but it's a little bit further away than we are at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I've got John and I've got Victoria, I believe it is, from Jamaica. So John first.
Hi, John Woodfield, a Caldicot Town Councillor and a Governor of Durand. Superb initiative. I've long targeted Durand to obtain school meals, and it is going very well. There's just 2 points. The allergy risk, I'm sure you've considered it. There's 2 parts for me, one with the children and then the parents coming along to a tasting.
Yeah.
You have that covered, I assume.
Yes, so we will have any children with dietary requirements, be that vegetarians, vegans, allergies, we will be aware of because of we're working with catering, so they have all those lists. I believe, but wouldn't want to be quoted, that there are no allergens in the chili con carne recipe. But yes, obviously any that are, and the recipe will be visible for everybody to see before they're trying, and any of the known 14 allergens that are included will be flagged up clearly so that nobody eats anything that they shouldn't be.
I'll finish it off.
Medium weight place. Yeah.
Victoria, with us?
Hi, thank you so much, Marianne. That was amazing, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. I'm a community town councillor for Mega Withundi and a school governor in Mega School. I'm
Right.
just wondering, it's brilliant that these. Is there going to be a next phase where we go around more schools to
Wouldn't we
include?
love to? It's funding dependent. So at the
Okay.
moment, the team is all grant funded, and to be honest, we don't know what the position looks like after the end of March. So we would very much hope that if this project is a success, and particularly if we can actually demonstrate increased uptake before and after, then it would be a very strong contender for going into future work plans for the team as we're going forward. And I'm already mentioning this and weaving it into funding bids and project development ideas that we would like to implement going forward. And yes, if the funding and the capacity were there, it would of course be wonderful to roll it out to more schools.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Lovely. Okay, well, any more questions? Right. Okay, before I just wrap that up, this is a slightly off agenda. I know you and your team came down to Roggett and met with Mike Bradley, one of our community gardeners, just to say he was most impressed by the team and the meeting that you had. So you might want to pass that message on.
Oh, thank you. I'll pass it back. I must say we were most impressed with them as well. We had a lovely morning, and what a fantastic community initiative.
Yeah, and we do have a small community orchard in the churchyard at Lambhangle, Roggett, the disused churchyard. So anyone wants to have a look at that. It's not bearing fruit that you could eat at the moment. It's only in its second year, but it was an orchard when the trees were funded by the sale of goods at the tip shops. So it's very much an MCC sponsored thing. So you want to have a look. Please contact me. Yep. Okay, John.
Can I just say one thing as well? Andy has a very ancient orchard, which will fit in very well with what you're doing, right next door to the hub. It is absolutely superb. It's got new trees and old trees together.
Oh, brilliant.
A large variety. So if you want to come and visit that, I'm only too happy to meet you.
Right. Okay.
That would be lovely. If I pop my email address in the chat, I'm afraid I can't see who's speaking because of being on Teams, but if I put my email address in the chat, could you drop me a line about the orchards and we can link up, and that would be lovely.
Yeah, I think I've probably got it already from previous correspondence, but that'd be lovely. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
and I do hear rumours of councillors to be invited to some of these tastings. Thank you for it.
And the apple
almost certainly.
I have another line of feedback. My grandson is at Roggett School in year 3, and if you can get him to eat anything that isn't beige coloured, good luck.
Yeah, I think there's another issue behind that. The uptake on school meals is partly dependent upon how far the children badger their parents in one direction or the other. And if they don't like the meals, the parents will allow, will give them packed lunches or whatever.
Yeah,
Is an indication about, whether the type of meals that are being served are attractive to young children? We know what they can be like.
Yeah, and that's part of the data and the information we'll be trying to glean out of that initial session. I know a survey was done earlier this year. I think we had about 1,200 responses from students around the country. That was one of Helen, the corporate catering manager's initiatives around the county, to gauge how the children were reacting to their school meals. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because we all know what children would choose to eat if you gave them the option, and it's not necessarily the best thing for them. So part of this project is trying to understand ways that we can make healthy options appealing and what some of the barriers are to children enjoying the food that we're offering.
Can I suggest packaging with golden arches on everything?
Golden arches.
Do we need it all then?
Right. All right, any more? I can't see any hands online, so, okay, so we thank you, Marianne, for coming along this evening, and that's a really interesting project, and we hope to hear details of progress as and when it's made. Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on then to item 7, which is another update on public transport and infrastructure project. So this is Paul again with Christian supporting him. Yeah, and Christian's online. Yeah.
What I wanted to update the forum was that in August, members of the County Council Cabinet had a meeting with the Welsh Government Cabinet Secretary on Transport, who at the time was Ken Skates.
It's changed now.
No, it hasn't changed.
Yeah,
We didn't lose the impact of the meeting that Ken Skates is still the Cabinet Secretary of Transport. Because it was a positive meeting. And to share some of that. We chose to use that first meeting with Ken Skates to focus exclusively on transport issues in Severnside and Chepstow. And that was our priority choice to do that. And just reporting on various aspects of the discussion, Ken Skates was able to confirm the intention of Welsh Government to commission a so-called well tag study, a technical term, but a study leading to specific design proposals for improvements at High Beach roundabout. And since that meeting, I'm told that the study has now commenced. Many councillors will tell you it's taken many years to persuade Welsh Government to even go to that stage of doing a design study and potential for improving that roundabout in Chepstow. But I wanted to report it because the congestion affects an awful lot of residents of Caldicot and Portskewitt who want access to the motorway through that route. So if improvements can be made, I think it's positive that that study is now taking place. But we also made the case, because I don't believe that that is the total answer to access to the motorway from Caldicot or Portskewitt in particular. We made the case for allowing local access to the M48. The M48 is a motorway, and the position of Welsh Government since the construction of the second Severn Bridge is that it should be a relief motorway and should not have local access to it. We made the case strongly, and this was referenced to the need for access to Severn Tunnel Junction and the redundant looking car park there. And we also made the case that if that was allowed in principle, that a second point of access around Caldicot would also make an awful lot of sense. It's an underused piece of highway. We've made this case to Ken Skates' predecessor, the Waters, and it'd be fair to say that Lee did not respond positively. Ken took a very different stance. He used words like pragmatism, which was novel, and said that whilst it wasn't Welsh Government's policy to necessarily encourage road transport and to build extensive new roads, he could understand that making better use of existing roads, which is what like we were doing, was in line with Welsh Government objectives. So what I'm reporting is that that was a positive discussion, and that he has asked his officials to go away and explore the options, the potential for opening up the M48 in the way that many people around this table have suggested, and which Welsh Government has not responded positively to previously. He didn't go away saying it would happen, but he did go away saying that he would look at the case that was being made and the options for achieving it. I thought that was positive. Moving on to rail, the whole Severnside area has the advantage of being a rail corridor. And we made the case for Mega Station, and we made the case for improved frequencies of trains through Caldecott and Chepstow. In making that case, we thought it was important, and this was the way it was received. We made the case that this wasn't special pleading for relatively small settlements in Welsh Government terms, Mega or Caldecott. This needed to be seen in terms of, just like the South Wales valleys have got a point of delivery now, an exciting core metro, which is going to deliver high speed, high frequency commuter routes across those valleys. The same case should be understood. We should understand that the same case is very strong for the whole area between Cardiff, Newport, Bristol, Gloucester. And what we need in Mega, what we need in Caldecott is part of that integrated metro for that cross-boundary, cross-national vision of a metro there. And I think he warmed to that vision. He also warmed to the notion that we've got to learn to work across national boundaries, that even something like Mega Station can't be delivered without the equivalent of Network Rail, without the UK government being involved and backing it. And what he agreed was that he would take those arguments into the discussions that he's having and has had with new UK ministers, and stress the importance of the new body, Great British Railways, and the importance of making sure that Transport for Wales and Great British Railways were working together across boundaries on that sort of vision. So again, no promises. The Mega Station is not going to come next week. The frequencies are improving and will continue to improve during this year. I'm concerned with that. But putting this on the agenda for the discussions that must take place across the two governments, I think it's a case worth making, and I think it was heard. So a more positive than usual engagement, I think, let's say, with Welsh Government ministers there.
Okay, all right, quick questions on this, which order? Tony, is it? Okay, Joe.
I thought that the Mega Dundee station was part of a scheme of 5 stations between Severnside Junction and Cardiff. The prime one being the St Mellons Parkway, plus stations in between. Are you suggesting they're not really agreed to go forward yet, or is it just a thought in people's minds?
It's a very strong proposition of Bird's Delivery Group and of Transport for Wales, but what I've learned, and I hadn't understood until I started exploring this, it cannot be entirely in the gift of Welsh Government Transport for Wales. Those proposals are to be agreed by Network Rail. That leads you into the UK Department of Transport. It leads you into Treasury appraisal of the scheme. So we've got to work our way through a whole series of relationships, and that requires the likes of Ken States to be talking directly to ministers at UK government to deliver that. So the objective is there, but there's an awful lot of
John will obviously take all this in.
So not actors to. Yeah, this has been very much discussed with the Mega Group. Yeah, and they're aware of. We've got a lot of people that line up. That's the right term in order to deliver this line.
The other question was, is bringing in Chepstow bypass. Is that going to happen? So I know you suggested they refurbish the old bridges knocked down in Lidley some many years ago, 66, I think, to try and relieve some of the pressure off the A48, whatever, across to the M5. There's a lot of feeling in Chepstow that the bypass was not really workable, although it could be put there. What is?
We mentioned it with Ken Skates, and he didn't leap at it as something that he wanted to put tens of millions of pounds or hundreds of millions of pounds into. So he was willing to talk about improvements at High Beach. He was willing to talk about the M48. He did not leap at the idea of a brand new bridge across the River Wye. I've gone into the media and said to my friends in the Forest of Dean, look, if you want to develop your towns, why do you think Shepstow and the Welsh Government should actually provide the infrastructure. Why don't you provide your own infrastructure and go across the River Severn?
Or collaborate.
Joe?
It sounds like real good progress. Well done to you all. Did he agree to come back to you? And the other question is, from what I understand from Transport for Wales, the issues around increased frequency is the rolling stock of the fact that they had a presentation, didn't they, in Maybe? I went to that. They had an awful trouble with rolling stock, and that's why they couldn't, for example, increase the trains when there's rugby on and stuff like that.
Several
I
issues
think
there.
that's it's an issue for the private company, what are they called?
Transport for Wales.
Whatever they're called, that are looking to run the direct trains to London, and that was delayed because.
No, this was told to me at the meeting by Transport for Wales,
Right.
that it was an issue because they had a number of engines delivered that were not fit for purpose, and they couldn't get the rolling stock from Spain or wherever it was coming from to go to the calf place, is it in Lanwern? Anyway, so that you mentioned about increased frequency. I know that's not directly the remit of this, but that's what I understood was a problem. So that might also play a part. And did he offer to come back at any time in the future, or we got another one of these open-ended? I'll think about it. Yes.
We didn't conclude with what's the date of the next meeting, but I'm confident that this is a dialogue that will continue. But I haven't got the date of the next meeting.
Yeah, it'd be nice if he came down and looked at how close those roads are together.
Yes.
Yeah.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
Sorry, John.
My limited understanding of the Burns report is obviously accessing the motorway and going via the Bringlass Tunnel. So within the conversation with Ken Skates and what you've mentioned with Severnside Junction and from a rail perspective and also access to the M49, was the gridlock of trying to get through and into Cardiff mentioned within the conversation? Because you have the whole of Bristol, you have the whole of Gloucester coming this way. It would make an awful lot of sense to take an awful lot of traffic off that road and be able to access a train, for instance. And I'm sure as a user, they would much prefer that than sit and wait for hours to try and not only get into Cardiff and find somewhere to park. And with the increased activity within the Principality Stadium, and that now being seen as quite a major event based within the UK, not only just for the actual stadium, but the amount of accommodation that surrounds that city. Was that anywhere within the conversation that, for me, would underpin even or stronger the requirement for it? Sorry, long question.
It would be true to say that our conversation was about daily commuter flows and trying to make sure that they flowed better. So we didn't talk about the peaks that you get with city centre activity around the Millennium Stadium, and that's what Jill was talking about. That wasn't discussed. It must always be difficult. How do you have a reserve number of rolling stocks available for the peak when you're just about managing all the day-to-day stuff? But we didn't discuss that. No.
Okay, can I move on? I'll start you very short. So thanks very much, Paul. I mean, and it's nice to have some. Used to be cautiously optimistic about it, but that's as far as we can go on that one. Thank you. Right, we're going to move on now to item 8, which is questions. Now we've actually got 5 questions.
We've had no comment about the bus services.
Oh, all right. Okay.
65.
All right.
IP Christians.
Christian, which one anything about buses? Yeah. I can see it. Kristen?
Sorry,
You
yes,
need to
sorry. My internet is not the best. Yes, about the bus services, we obviously I think I talked about what happened in April, the last meeting, and in September since 1st September we've got a couple of improvements for Severnside, which is mainly about a hourly bus service now on the X74, on the 74 as it is on Sunday. So the Sunday service is now hourly, and the 73 through Cairns got a Sunday service, which is roughly 2 hourly for the first time in a while. That's what we've sort of achieved in September. we continue to get we continue to get feedback about the 75 service, which obviously since April now not just connects Cavan and Sudbury to Caldicot, but goes to Mega as well. Basically, we had some suggestions that the timetable should be changed to fit with the better connection to the trains at Severnside Junction coming from the Mega direction and from the Caldicot direction, and that it also should be 3 times so it works with the schools. And you also had a suggestion that whether it can be combined with with other service into Newport, because some members might be aware there's actually the 74A and C service which goes from Newport to Underwood and goes as far as Mega Brewery, but then turns round. But there could be a combination of that. Previously, Newport Bus have effectively said, let's run this for a couple of months, and then we can look at the patronage. And quite frankly, that's how far we got, and we haven't really done any work, and it was always planned for this autumn. Having said that, we'll have to say that the 75 service is run according to the contract. In fact, or the contract requires them is to connect Sudbury and Cavan with Caldicot. Everything else is a bonus. So we'll get there this autumn, and maybe we'll get some change next spring. But that's really the update where it is so far about the 75. And as I said, from the 74 and the 73, we've got the additional Sunday service, but that's also I think all what can be expected at the moment. We did ask for bringing the X74 to a half-hourly service, but there simply wasn't the funding available for this, as to increase the frequency from hourly to half-hourly, and the costs were much bigger than we could justify. So that's really the situation as it is at the moment. In terms of infrastructure, we are planning to put up real-time information at Caldicot Cross later this year. It'll probably be a black and white display on the town side, i.e. in the Newport direction, if only because it'll be a solar panel effective on top of the roof, which is providing power, and hopefully a colored display in the other direction.
Thank you. Brilliant. All really good having all the new buses. When I was delivering leaflets about the Woodstock Way active travel, people were talking to me and they were surprised, or a couple of residents were surprised that to see a bus coming along Mill Lane. And so that suggests to me that perhaps we could be better with communication, possibly. I'm back on my old soapbox again about consultation and communication. And I wonder if we're not getting uptake because people aren't aware of the routes, and can we do anything to help you communicate better?
Yes.
Is it with town councils? Is it on notice boards? Is it town council notice boards? Is there leaflets we can deliver? Is there anything we can, because I noticed I've seen lots and there's nobody on the buses and they'll be taken away and we'll lose them. And that's such a shame.
Yeah, I mean, okay, the contract of the 75 is 3 + 2, so it's 3 years plus 2 years. So there is no immediate danger of it being lost, and effectively the operator has taken the revenue risk as it is, and they now have to operate it for at least 3 years. I mean, yes, we have looked into, we have got timetable leaflets. These has been sent, I think, to councillors and community councillors, part of the bus update. If you want more, please email me.
Sorry.
Yeah, I could.
We have something we can print off and deliver to our residents, maybe.
The timetables were sent to us by Christian. I've actually printed off copies and pasted them up in the bus shelters in Roggett, but in 75 and the 74X. You could soon jazz it up a bit.
No, I'm just saying, is there anything else we can do? For example, as I said, residents were surprised to see one coming down their road. So so the people whose roads are now being used by buses, and Mill Lane is a nightmare at lots of times, as we know, weren't aware that it was coming down that route. So at least as a minimum, could we have something that we can deliver on the routes, please? Because it's not just that we'll lose them or we won't lose them yet. We're not making the best benefit environmentally, are we?
Okay, I'll see whether we can get some maps going, or alternatively some sort of, maybe a better timetable than was done so far, which could be delivered. We also have looked in the past at leafleting, but that sort of we didn't really get forward with this because as soon as we had the new timetables coming in April, we knew it was very likely that we're going to get some additional services in September, which we did get, but we weren't quite sure at that time what's likely going to happen. So it's a bit complicated that I do want to have a chat with Newport Bus about whether there are any possible improvements for the 75. However, if we are, fuffing about with that timetable again, then you could say this isn't quite the right time to leaflet, to do more than what we're doing at the moment for pushing the timetable if we're changing it again soon. So that's and I'm not quite sure what's the best way there.
I'm not meaning the timetable and the details, just that there is a bus that it runs this way. It'd like to go every half hour. Please use it, type thing. That sort of thing.
Yeah. Rather
than the detail, which, as you say, will change.
Okay.
I'm happy to deliver.
Yeah, I'm going to have to move things on. But there's some interesting ideas there. Particularly, of course, also advise people to use the Newport Bus app, which is very, very good. Hello,
Christian. Phil Elwood from Roggett Community Council. I'd like to, if you don't mind, challenge the position that MCC and Newport Bus have on the 75 timetable, with talking about the potential for it to be used by school children from Roggett to go to Caldicott School. You said, I think, that the timetable's been set and the idea is to monitor the patronage and then review it in the autumn with a view to changing the timetable in spring, if warranted. The problem with that logic is that your patronage will never be optimized.
No.
Because the potential to get children onto those who are not entitled to free transport and so on, the potential to get the children onto the buses and take some cars off the road is being denied up front because the timetable is not set appropriately. So I really think that you and Newport Bus could be a little bit more proactive on this and not just sit on it till the autumn with a timetable which seems to be arbitrary. Sorry for the challenge, but
yeah, okay. I mean, the timetable as it's set at the moment is actually trying to get into the gaps of the 74, so that 74 or the X74 is hourly, the 75 is filling every other gap. So at the moment, effectively, you've got a 60 minute timetable. So that was the thinking behind the current 75 timetable. As I said, as soon as the new leg from Mega came in, we had these proposals where, quite frankly, at some stage we might have to do a choice, because there's no way we can work it out for the school children and for commuters at Severnside Junction from both Mega and from Caldicott. So we can't. There will need to be a choice to be taken at some stage. And the reason why I said where I give the times is because, quite frankly, neither Newport Bus or me have really got around to where they might have, but certainly I haven't got around to look into the data of the timetable as of now. And we need to have a look, and then we probably need to have a discussion about what the various options are and what things would work from them and from us. And then if we do agree with something, the timetable registrations take 56 days normally. So, you know, from effectively having agreed something, we then have to register the timetable with the traffic commissioners, and we have to give 56 days notice, although we sometimes can get a shorter time period if you've got a good thing. And that's really where I'm coming from. And that's why I said, you know, it might well be that that it takes us to next spring until we get somewhere. So I hear that you say that, you know, we should be fast on that one. Yes, but I mean, this is just from where we are. That's sort of my best guess.
Thanks. I'm sure. Thanks, Christian. I'm sure it's an issue that we'll be coming back to in the future. Victoria had her hand up. Let's put it down on the chat. I can't read it.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, yeah, second that about the advertising. I mean, it's no point in having something if people don't know about it. But also there's the other thing, Christian. If there's at some point, if you say there may be choices to be had with regards to the Caldecott and Mega and vice versa with the commuters, I think this is where actually that we need to get the time right now. Otherwise, when we come to the choices, it will be said, well, that wasn't used and that wasn't used, when actually if it was the right times, it would be used.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. A final point on that.
That would be my only worry.
Thank you. But just to support that, if you look at timetables, rail or bus for any large centres, they have much increased frequencies around the commuting and school times. The idea of setting 75 to be halfway between the 74 services throughout the day and not putting extra services on at key times when they're needed seems very short-sighted to me, if that's what you were saying.
Okay, right. I'm not going to go any further. I think we've just said that we are bang up against time. So with your permission, I will move on to item 8, which is questions from members. And there are 5 questions, but Wendy has worked very hard to elicit written responses from all the relevant people, and I believe they've been sent to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't received it, let me know, and I've had copies, and I will make sure you get the copies. Yeah. Okay. Tony, you have some questions.
A quick comment. I see Francis O'Brien is on the screen. I interviewed you many years ago, and I want to send a congratulations for your job in Port Talbot. And I'm sure that you still got dark hair, and I'm sure the committee would say the same thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. Yeah.
That's very kind of you. Yes, I'll be starting in Neath Port Talbot the middle of November. So yes, I'm going to miss everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. That's the first time in a long time Tony said someone that hasn't led to an argument.
That's not the of your hair.
Okay, so I think we can close it now. We've got a date for our next meeting. It wasn't possible to do it exactly 3 months for the reason. So it's now on the 9th of January 2025. That's scary, isn't it? But there we go. So I thank everybody for coming along. I think it's been another useful meeting. Yeah. And go safe and enjoy your next meeting that most of you, or some of you, are going to now. So there we go. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to Wendy. There's been a lot of work involved in preparing for this meeting that people don't see, and we thank her for being here this evening. We are a nuisance, we know. Thank you very much. Off the record.
It's the Wi-Fi being improved in this building yet? No, it's the Wi-Fi. Oh, good. Yeah, I've been using it both.
Yeah, welcome to the new building. Yeah. I'm not going to work here about. Yeah, today in October, so.